Welcome to Fright Night, for real.
Hey guys, welcome back to Spooky Tuesday, a weekly podcast where we're breaking down all of our favorite slashers, thrillers, monster movies, and black comedies on the new scariest day of the week. I'm Sydney Thompson.
I'm Monica Height.
And I'm Chelsea Duff.
And this week, we've got that 80s Rizz, you know?
We do.
That beautiful,
We really
beautiful,
do.
beautiful,
The
beautiful
Rizz of the 80s. You know what they like to call it? They like to call it beautiful.
The beautiful. And we're coming at you with Fright Night on this spooky Tuesday, day or night, depending on what time.
It could even be afternoon.
Flavor of Tuesday.
It could be Fright morning, Fright mid-morning, Fright afternoon, Fright evening, Fright night, baby. Okay, and if you, like Chelsea, have never seen Fright Night, IMDb says this movie is about a teenager believes that the newcomer in the neighborhood is a vampire. He turns to an actor in a television horror show to help deal with the undead.
Yes.
Gorgeous.
It's exactly that. Oh, I love this movie so much. I remember that I loved it so much when I watched it like 2 years ago, and watching it this morning, I had a fright morning. Really, wow. It's just like, this is the movie where like everything Monica loves and everything Sydney loves come together and they make sweet love.
That's
and I hope that Chelsea loves it too.
Well, I clocked at least a couple Twilight references, so I'll tell you what, there was something there for me at least.
Amazing.
Here's the thing. This movie gives me so much practical effects. And I get a raging horror hard on for practical effects. And stand by that.
Exactly. This movie made me horny in several different ways. And one of them was for the practical effects, that specific brand of practical effects horny, but then normal horny too, and then wrong horny also. There's a lot of feelings here. It is a vampire movie after all, and if it doesn't have its fair share of lewd sex, then like it's not doing it right, because we all know vampires are the horniest of the supernatural. Yes,
except for ghosts. Ghosts are also very horny as well.
I feel like ghosts spend so much of their time just chilling, actually. You know what I mean? So I feel like they have moments of extreme horniness.
But have you seen Ghost?
I have seen Ghost.
Chelsea, every time you yawn, a ghost puts their dick in your mouth.
Don't say that. that is not true.
Ghost had sex with Lucy Liu.
Lucy Liu had sex with a ghost. It's the other way around. It was her choice.
Of course. I'm not saying it's like a succubus incubus kind of situation here. This is consensual, but ghosts fuck is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
but this movie is not about that. Oh my God. I mean, I wish I was alive in 1985, because this movie and A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, also came out in this year. What a time to be alive.
Great year.
Just really special. Yeah, really special.
Yeah, this movie was the biggest horror movie to come out in the summer of 1985, I believe. And then A Nightmare on Elm Street 2 was the biggest horror movie of the year. So honestly, what a great class of horror movie to be associated with.
Seriously. And it was a fucking bangerang.
Yeah, it's got a lot in common with the movies around it too, though. Like, I got a lot of movies that we've covered before. A lot of movies that came afterwards, like Lost Boys was 2 years later. But for sure, there's a lot of DNA in common with Lost Boys here, especially like the best friend who's the supernatural expert, but he's also kind of a weirdo little freak.
Yes.
He's such a little weirdo freak. I love him so much. Evil Ed.
What
Honestly,
a name.
Special boy.
Nickname.
incredible. He seemed pissed about it, but yeah, Stephen Jeffries. It's one of those ones where it could go either way. He is a multi-talented actor, and I'll get into it more later, but we're not ready yet.
Why? So his name is like Ed Thompson. Why do none of y'all call me Evil? Why couldn't that be my fun nickname?
That's where the evil comes from for sure. From the last name Thompson.
Thompson,
That's
yeah.
definitely where they got the nickname from. They're like,
well, now that I know the origin of the
Thompson.
name, yeah,
Thompson.
that's
evil.
Yeah, it
Evil,
has nothing to do with the alliteration with Ed or anything like that. There's no, you're right.
No, it's Thompson.
We'll have to work
Wait,
it into the
Evil
lexicon.
Sid is really close to Evil Ed.
See?
Well, we can make the change now. It's never too late, Sydney, to have a new nickname.
I'm rebranding, actually.
It's like, well, what's your little intro? I'm Evil Sid Thompson.
And I'm evil.
Oh, she's gonna double evil it. Okay.
Yeah.
Really get the point home. Really make sure nobody misses out.
I think the thing for me, and I guess the thing for Tom Holland, who is the writer director of this movie, and he wrote
Spider-Man wrote this? He
Yeah.
must have
Spider-Man.
been an embryo. A zygote.
No, he's
one might
also
say.
He's the guy who also, I think, directed Psycho 2, and he did Child's Play.
Mhm.
We've talked about Tom Holland before. And also he has a young twin, I guess, with the same name.
That's his younger
Short King.
clone.
Yeah, his younger clone, Short King, Tom Holland. But this movie, oh my God, I don't remember what I was gonna say. I'm just so excited. He wrote it in 3 weeks. Okay, he wrote it in 3 weeks. And the reason that he was so jazzed about it, the reason that I am so jazzed about it, is because of this whole Peter Vincent character. That was like the glue that like stuck this whole thing. Like the whole concept of the movie itself is like a boy who cried wolf kind of thing. So like, you know, the boy talks. Our main character, Brewster, Charlie Brewster, he's like a horror fanatic like us, so very relatable. All he does all the time is watch Fright Night, a TV show about a vampire hunter starring acclaimed actor in this world, Peter Vincent.
I would say his acclaim is limited in this world.
Oh,
but...
yes. It's very limited. But you know, he is been around the block, that's for sure. And so everyone knows he's a horror fanatic, so of course no one's gonna believe him when he's like, my next door neighbor's a fucking vampire. But I just love the fact that he is watching this like Tales from the Crypt-esque show. And one of my favorite facts about this whole thing was that Peter Vincent was based off of Peter Cushing and Vincent Price. And they wanted Vincent Price to literally play him. I love that. It's so on the nose.
The name being Peter Vincent, I don't really know who Peter Cushing is, but I saw that IMDb trivia. But immediately
he's
when
been
they
in
were
like a
Peter
million
Vincent,
old horror movies, like like Frankenstein shit, all that. Keep going.
Well, it helps that Vincent Price's last name also starts with a P then, because as soon as I heard his name was Peter Vincent, I was like, okay, so this is Vincent Price.
Yeah.
I have seen The House on Haunted Hill, and I know what we're doing here.
Yep. Yeah, and he like, the only reason that it didn't work out is because like Vincent Price wasn't in the greatest of health at that time, unfortunately, because this came out in 85. And like, when did House on Haunted Hill come out? Like
the
in the
50s?
Yeah, so he was in his advanced years.
Yeah, it said he was like scaling back on like horror projects also, I think. So even if he was like up to the task of another role, he maybe wouldn't have chosen this role anyway. But I'm sure he was so honored.
Oh, definitely. He liked it. He liked it a lot.
Okay,
Tom
good.
I
Holland
thought
and
that
him
counts.
met up
They're
at some point,
besties.
like later on in life, and he was like, "Oh, I really liked it." Because the actor Roddy McDowall was like a little nervous about it because he took the role in like a totally different direction than Vincent Price. Because Vincent Price is like actually a really like a good actor,
Actually acclaimed,
and he's
yeah.
actually acclaimed and actually like, you know, beloved. Peter Vincent, on the other hand, Roddy wanted to make him different. He wanted to make him totally washed up. His like idea for the story behind Peter Vincent is that he has only played the role of the vampire hunter. That's it. So he's done like 10 movies and he's played the same guy and he's really fucking bad at it, like really fucking bad at acting. And the little choices he makes to show that are so fucking funny. Like that opening scene when you're like getting to watch the Fright Night show while Charlie and Amy are macking on each other hard.
Mhm.
He goes to kill the vampire and he's holding the stake backwards.
Oh,
Really
yes, I noticed that. I wondered
great
if that was
little
going to get
details.
circled around too, but I love that it's just a little background detail for the keen observer to pick up on.
Yeah.
Also, the beginning, just starting with the video, and like hearing it in the background and not necessarily knowing what you're getting into at first if you haven't seen the movie before. That gave me big Paranorman vibes, where Norman is always just watching the zombie movies all the time in the beginning, and that's where he gets his lore from. And like Frog in Lost Boys, where it's like he reads all the comics, so he knows all the deets.
He knows what's happening, actually. He's
Mhm.
hip to that jive.
He's up to date on the lore.
The thing is, Charlie should have known the answers to all of his questions later in the movie. I really can't speak today. That's something that's going to come up, I think.
I think we're going to power through. I think we're going to
It's
do our
going to be
best.
hard.
Yeah.
But Charlie should have known all the answers to his own questions about how to kill a vampire, because he's been watching Fright Night for years and years and years. But he's too busy macking on all them honeys and not paying attention to everything that Peter Vincent has been teaching him. And that's on him.
And that's a him problem, actually.
Yeah.
If the positions had been swapped, and Charlie had been the one incapacitated while Amy had to save him and know all the details, she'd be up to date though. Because when she's lying on that floor, making out, whatever, she's peeping that TV. I saw her little eyes open looking at the screen. She is giving Peter Vincent her full attention down there. Yeah, that's why she doesn't want to go to second base. She's like, please don't distract me. I'm focused here.
Like, don't touch my boob. I need to watch my man.
Yeah,
Peter Vincent
a little kissing
on the
is
telly.
fine. If you touch my boobs, there's gonna be too much going on.
It's over for you. But honestly, that's a vibe. Sometimes I just want to watch horror movies and
Sometimes
don't
it's like,
want people touching
my
a
little
titty,
eye
you know?
open. Yeah, I'm just like looking at something over here. Am I also kissing? Maybe I can do two things at once. Girls can multitask.
Yeah,
But I can't do 3 things at once. I can't have my boobie grabbed and make out and pay attention at the same time to the show.
You want to touch my boobie? The mouth is going to stop moving. Yeah, we can have 2 activities. That's it.
You can touch the boobie and I look at the screen. Okay, we got to set these ground rules.
Yep, we got to know.
It's a balancing act. Girls, they can do it all, but only 2 times at once.
But only occasionally.
Oh,
they can do it all, but they need a rotating schedule.
Exactly. Don't ask too much from us. We can do it all, but also like we don't have to, and that's the important distinction.
We don't have to, and that's
we
feminism.
Don't have to.
Also, we're tired,
and that's on God.
On period.
I really love the guy who plays Charlie Brewster, William Ragsdale. I think he's such a freaking cutie patootie. Very adorable. But they're thinking about doing Charlie Sheen for this role.
Yeah, I saw that.
Tom Holland, this is just so funny to me. Tom Holland like saw him and he's like, no, he's too beautiful to be believable as the boy next door. We can't have Charlie Sheen play him. I just thought that was so funny. I mean, Charlie Sheen was hot in the 80s, but like
Charlie Sheen was like very good looking in the 80s.
It's just so funny to me. Like he's just too beautiful for this role.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I don't know enough of Charlie Sheen's history, but when I think of him in the 80s, I mainly think of him playing like the dirtbag side character at the police station in Ferris Bueller. And so to see him being characterized as too much of a hero for the Charlie Brewster role, I think is so fascinating.
He looks like a bad boy.
I can kind of picture it. He does look like a bad boy, but I could see what he means when he's like, that's the hero. Like he's too hunky, basically, is the takeaway. You need that boy next door vibe.
Yeah, no, I could totally see that too, because like William Ragsdale looked like a little baby bean, like a cute little. I want to protect him. We all want to protect him because look at him, little.
Well,
cute
I hated him
nerd.
a little in the beginning. He was being
the whole
dump him boyfriend core.
No, he was being shitty, and then I feel like he got a little bit better, but not great.
So I understand. Boy. What are you gonna do?
I understand why Amy dumped him, but also he was dealing with things of supernatural proportions. Okay,
He was dealing
so
with a lot. Okay, there was
He
a
really
vampire
He was
living
was.
dealing
next
with a
door.
lot, but she could have dumped him before and still been totally in her
Fine.
rights. So
yeah, fair. Yeah, no, I can see that. Also, he is very similar to my roommate James, where he looked like a baby up until like 25, because that man is 24 while filming this role. But Amy, on the other hand, she definitely looks like a mature woman at some points in the film, especially when her hair gets poofier. Like she all of a sudden you're like, yeah, she was 27. That makes later parts of the film feel a little better for me.
yeah.
I was like, don't worry, Monica. She's 27.
She's 27. It's fine.
She's 27.
Also,
It's
she
fine.
looks 27.
She looks 27. She
Like,
does look 27.
I don't know what it is in the 80s. Maybe it was the hair, but just like everybody just looked so much older. Like she looks like, I have friends who are 27, right? And she looks like my 27-year-olds look like 17 now, and she looks way old.
It's definitely the hair, because the hair for me, that curly like hairsprayed short hair in particular, is definitely something that, like, you know, the people who were young in the 80s still wear
Yeah.
now. And also my aunt, who is in her late 70s, she also, that's her like day-to-day hairstyle, a little bit more smoothed down because she's a little older. But
I feel like for
it's
sure there's
an
like
old lady
90s
haircut.
mom holdover hair there for sure. Like the 80s teens were the 90s 20-year-olds, and like the 80s 20-year-olds were like the 90s 30-year-olds having kids. You know what I mean? Like that is the mom hair of the 90s. And it doesn't, not that this whole movie didn't like remind me a little bit of Lost Boys, but the fact that the mom in Lost Boys also has like the pixie cut, pretty short. And I don't know, I think like it, that definitely made her seem older. I wonder if it made her seem older at the time. I don't know, maybe everybody at the time was like, she looks so young, because she did look young to me, but I'm not good at it the way Sydney is.
I think I think that this movie, like, I watched a trailer for the documentary that is about this movie and the sequel called You're So Cool, Brewster, a Fright Night documentary, something shit like that. I don't know. But I just found out about it 15 minutes before we recorded, so didn't have time to watch it. Very disappointed. I gleaned a lot of great things though from the trailer. One I'll get to later, one I'll say now. One I'll say now is that they are like, this movie came out in 85, right? Smack dab in the middle of the 80s. And it's so like, not renowned, but maybe renowned, like so beloved, because it like really encapsulated that 80s energy. Like it really did a really
80s
good
Rizz,
job
baby.
of that. Yeah, it has the 80s Rizz, like the dance scene we get later, the fashion, all of that, like the trench coat that our little Dracula here gets. Jerry the vampire. Love that too, by the way.
Do you know who Jerry is though?
Chris Sarandon?
Yes.
That's Prince Humperdinck, baby.
He was in Child's Play too, the other Tom Holland movie we did.
Yeah.
Is he Susan Sarandon's brother? I don't know. I just noticed the same last name. I'm gonna Google it. But yeah, like this was like iconic in the 80s, and like it spawned like people being obsessed with some of his outfits. Some of the outfits, like everyone was deeply in love with Chris Sarandon, and who can blame them? Honest to God, he's so hot in this. Oh, also, he has an earring now. Just saying, this man is in his older age. He's aged very well, according to the trailer for the for the documentary I was talking about. Yes, my brother. Susan Sarandon, my brother. Her brother. It's her brother. Yep.
There we go.
Wow.
Wait. Hold on. Hold on.
Wait.
No. Hold on. No.
Just saw that on his IMDb. The first piece of trivia that they display in the little preview.
They were married.
Opposite of brother sister. Super close. really
Wait,
almost
wait.
the same except opposite.
Listen to me. You can't blame me. The top story, an article from People magazine that came out 5 hours ago. So it's top thing. It says Susan Sarandon recalls wedding, but then it was ... and then it said brother hooked up with a bridesmaid. But it went ... where it said Susan Sarandon recalls wedding to Chris Sarandon. It didn't, I swear to God.
It blanked out the two
It
Chris.
blanked that out. It just had Susan Sarandon and brother. Anyway, I did nothing wrong.
That's so
But yeah,
crazy
no,
that
they're
he
married.
took her last name.
That's so insane.
Right.
She obviously had it first, I think, probably. I know her better.
There's a lot of drama here. Her brother
I know, it
hooked
looks
up
like
with
it's
a
a very
bridesmaid at the
Hollywood-y
wedding.
family.
Her mom was pregnant at the wedding. Okay, everything's
Whoa.
going wild. There's a
Damn.
lot of drama.
Chris
Anyway,
is the
wow.
son-in-law of Monty Hall.
That's the hottest couple in the entire world. Chris
That is a
Sarandon.
very sexy couple.
Chris Sarandon and Susan Sarandon. That's a very sexy couple. Not as hot as Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis.
Oh yeah.
I
That
think
was the
Run for Their
hottest.
Money, maybe, though.
It's close.
It's close.
It's close.
Hey, is this gonna be our
For
poll
me, it might be
question?
more
Who's
this
the
one.
hotter
Yeah.
couple?
Oh, that's a good
Yeah,
one.
that's it.
Who's
Wow.
the hotter couple?
Finally,
I
we
think
already
it could
got
be
it.
contentious. I think
I
it
think
could be a
it'd very
contentious poll.
contentious. But I mean, I have to tell you now, Chris Sarandon has an earring, and it's a hoop. So that's
Well.
hard. Jeff Goldblum, you better get an earring
No.
quick. I mean,
He's running to
that's
Claire's
catered.
right now.
Yeah, no, he shouldn't go to Claire's, even for the
No,
low.
he should go to Claire's, just like we all had to.
No, he should go someplace that will take care of his ears. I want that for him. I want his ears to be safe.
You don't want him to get the gun?
Don't support the giant corporations. Support the small tattoo shop in your area. Anyway, back to the movie.
Here's the thing: just buy a piercing gun off eBay or
You're not
Amazon.
supposed to do the gun or whatever. I guess they want you to get a real needle Parent Trap style.
Oh
the
well.
gun is supposed to be fine for the
Ears.
lobe,
For your
but
lobe.
it's also not good for the lobe because it's giving you like blunt force trauma wound in your ear, so it could develop more scar tissue. The needle is because it literally like punches you. Anyway, we can go. Let's talk
Do
about
it just
something
like
else.
Annie and Hallie and Parent Trap.
I have to talk
Get
about
the
this
apple and
now
the lemon. Okay.
because I'm going to be thinking about it the whole time. And we're talking about the cast. And so we're talking about it. Stephen Jeffries, Evil Ed. Iconic man. Very incredible in this movie. Also very incredible in whatever movie is his IMDb picture, which is him wearing like circle glasses, like John Lennon circle glasses, and holding a human heart in his hand. And I don't know what movie that is
Ooh.
from, but I need to see it. He was in a movie called 976-Evil, and I think it's like a phone number. That sounds very great. He was all over the town in the 80s playing kooky roles similar to this role. And so I went to his IMDb because I was like, I want to see other stuff that he's in. Like maybe he's one of those iconic 80s actors that I don't necessarily know about. Like I didn't know who's the quirky guy in Lost Boys? Who plays a similar character in Lost Boys? That actor, Corey. I didn't know anything about
Feldman?
the Corys. Yeah, I didn't know anything about Corey Feldman and the other one who unfortunately
Haim.
passed away. And so I want to like get in on the 80s lore. Well, I found something very exciting. I'm so excited. So after Stephen Jeffries had his time in the 80s, he entered the 90s and he did a little bit of a career change. He started going by the name Sam Ritter and he did gay porn for a decade. And
Wow.
all of the gay porns are on his IMDb. So I was like, huh, what is this? I'm like, what is this? What is this? Semen Training Day. What's that? Butt Machine Boys? Halfway House Hunks? And then I was like, what is this? Whoa. Then it came out, transsexual prostitutes. I was like, whoa. He has so many. Hell's Paradox. That one could be horror. The Cockpit.
Ooh.
Mechanics by, like bisexual day. Lube Job by, like bisexual night. Yeah. So I found a whole article about it. I don't like the language in the article, but there's a lot of, just look at the pictures and don't read the article that I linked in the references because I don't like the way that this person talked about it because I think this is awesome and empowering and go for it, Sam Ritter.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. But yeah,
Do
it has
your
like the
best
covers to
Leah
the
Michelle
like,
impression.
yeah, forget to read and just look at the covers of these amazing pornos that he did. So like right off the bat, the movie is gay. It's
Gorgeous.
already
Love that.
gonna get gayer, but like I love him. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
And also I Googled Sam Ritter porn, not on incognito mode, so I don't know what's gonna happen to me.
You're gonna
Oh,
get some
no.
really fun ads for Butt Machine Boys on DVD in a store near you.
I'm very excited for what that's gonna do to my whole computer and whatever happens to me. At least this isn't a work computer.
Okay, well, I
yeah.
love that journey for him.
I love that journey for him, and it really adds to the lore of Evil Ed, you know? Because, like, God, what a way to portray this character. It just amazing acting choices all around. Really an intense guy, but a knowledgeable man about horror. Like, I love when they go to Evil Ed's room and, you know, he is doing some sort of science, some sort of electric work,
As one
maybe.
does.
He has a little vampire light up thingy-mabobber on his desk, so obviously he's an expert. And I love him. I love him so much. He's so important to me. I love his spiky hair. I love everything about him. And he's in the documentary, so I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear about his career though. Apparently he had previously been in a movie with the actress who plays Amy something Beards, I forget, Amanda Bierce. And they'd played a couple in that movie. And then when he like got the script for this one, he thought they wanted him to read for Charlie at first. But they wanted him for Evil Ed instead. And like it sounded like from IMDb that came as something of a surprise. So it sounds like he's occupied a lot of different spaces in Hollywood and tried out a lot of different approaches to finding what roles are right for him.
Yeah.
So,
I love
he's
that.
getting creative. He's trying out lots of different things.
I'm obsessed with him. I'm obsessed with him. I love everything that they did for his character too. I don't know if it's too early to say, but the way that he becomes a vampire, the way that they do his teeth, he has his vampire teeth like in the placement where Sydney had to put hers last year, and she was so pissed about it when we went to the vampire ball. Because sometimes they don't fit on your canines, the teeth you get off of Amazon, and you have to do other things.
And
mine,
you know, like my canines are like really far out of the way. So like you would think, and they're so just like wider than normal, so they look weird.
It wouldn't work for her.
I think they look great.
Well, that was another thing I really liked about the design here. Every vampire is unique, special flower, and they all have different teeth.
Yeah.
Their teeth were all there was no consistency with the teeth, and I like that. I like that.
Some of them had
different.
like fangs on their bottom teeth too.
Yeah, and
everyone's just doing their own vibe.
Amy later has two sets of fangs at the top. It's like her canines and the one next to it are all.
I
the shark
love when
Yeah,
they have like
and
the
then-
double.
Oh yeah, and she had the whole fucking crazy cat face later, but that's a little early. But I feel for Charlie because I too would want to get involved because that's who I am. If I saw the most beautiful woman I'd ever
nice.
seen on my street and then she was killed the very next day, like I would want to jump in there. That lady in the blue outfit didn't deserve that. She's a lovely woman. And also I love 80s movies too because like so many interesting booby things happening.
Yes, that lady taking her top off while making direct eye contact with Charlie. That was a moment for sure.
It was a choice.
Yeah. I have kind of stopped taking notes while I watch the movies lately. And this time I tried to start, and all I wrote for the entire movie were, "Oh my god, boobies," and then I wrote his fingers. So the next thing I'd like to discuss are his fingers.
I made a comment about that, not written down or anything, but I like alone sitting on my couch was like, oh my god, he has beautiful lady fingers. Is that how you're supposed to be identified as a vampire.
I was so obsessed with the makeup choices that they made for this, because when you first see his fingers in that scene where they're, the booby eye contact with Charlie, it just looks like he has long sensual nails or whatever, blah blah blah. But like, you see his fingers so much throughout the movie that I really could like dive into what they did. And like, if you look too closely, it kind of ruins it, because like, your fingers, you've got the 3 lines, one where it connects to the, like, if you look on the inside of your finger, one where it connects to the knuckle, then like the middle one, and then the one right before your fingertip. So they just like added on another piece of finger after the line to the fingertip, but you can like, you can see the line still at one point. So he's just like, it's like he's got the longest fingertips of all times. They're like 3 inches long. They come to a point. It's alluring. I'm allured.
I'm very interested.
I would like to learn more. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, that was the first time it got horny, and then I was like, oh no, it's gonna get hornier.
That was also when they really started to let on something too. Like, you maybe had your suspicions that things were going on before, probably knew it was a vampire movie going in. They start out with the vampire movie of the seduction. So you're getting this seductive scene and you're kind of like, okay, same vibes. But when you see the long fingers versus when he comes over to Charlie's house and then you see the short fingers, you're like, I know I saw something before. I know something is afoot here.
Yeah, there's definitely something. Oh my god, this is why being a peeping Tom is bad. But also, it's giving Rear Window. You know what I mean? Sometimes
Giving
you look out the
Disturbia.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
giving the
which was
classic
Rear
masterpiece,
Window.
Disturbia.
Oh my god.
But yeah, Disturbia is definitely, I'm sure Rear Window before it for sure, because that's where Disturbia got it from, probably.
Oh,
but like the
100%. Yeah, it's all
binoculars,
Rear
especially. It's like the next door neighbor. They're like, I thought I saw something, but no, there's like this sort of complication. It's like less I can't leave my house because I'm on house arrest, and more like I can't leave my house because I'm keeping an eye on the house next door, sort of. But the material is there.
The material's there. And the thing is, what's going on with this cop? Have you ever in your life gotten a report that like someone's a murderer? As a cop, Sydney and Chelsea.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten a report in your line of work? And a minor is reporting a murder, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna bring this minor to the murderer's house.
He's
for
my co-detective
interrogation.
now.
Yeah. Like that, I guess that's what it was like in the 80s. I wouldn't know.
I just think he should have a chance to look around. He's the one that made the report. Does he not have more claim than any of us to this case?
It's just like, oh, let me introduce you to the person who's like making claims about you, sir, so you can now retaliate. So you know exactly what he looks like.
Says I have the right to face my accuser. So this is the American justice system.
Oh god. that was just a lot. And this is where the boy who cries wolf stuff was so clear. No one's gonna believe him when you say he's a vampire, especially because they're seeing the guy. Wasn't that the middle of the day?
Yeah.
Too. I mean, they're inside the house, so it was fine. That's why he could.
And we saw those windows get painted black by his live-in carpenter. For sure, no gay vibes there. Just like his normal, regular carpenter. Like, you know how everybody has a carpenter that just like lives with them to do like any handiwork around the house.
Of course,
I want to live in carpenter. That's my dream, actually.
We love a little Studley Renfield running around doing household chores for you. It's great. Wonderful. Oh my god. But yeah, I feel for Charlie, but like he was in a losing game. And then, he finds out the rules. He knows what he's supposed to do to keep himself safe. And rule number 1 is never let the vampire come into your house. Never say, hey, vampire, come into the house. But his
mommy did that.
Told mommy. He should have told mommy, because mommy is a single mom who works too hard, who loves her kids and never stops. Like we always talk about Reba. She's the Reba of the 1985 classic. And of course, who can blame her for inviting Jerry over? Have you seen him?
I would also invite Jerry over.
For a little drink? Did she make him a nighttime Bloody Mary? Interesting. Also funny because of the whole blood thing.
He is so funny with food in this movie, and that's one of my Twilight references. Is he's always eating a little apple, and he like lets the apple roll out of his hands like Twilight style when Charlie is hiding in the bushes. Although there is this like one weird moment as the apple rolls where it looks like he like ate straight through the core in the center, and I don't know what's going on, but I rewound like 2 times to be like, what's happening? Why does it look like that?
The extra fiber within the core of the apple.
That I need that cyanide in the apple seeds or whatever they say is in apples. He's building up a natural immunity.
I saw something and it was like, we see Jerry eating apples all throughout this movie because he is closely related to a vampire, like a fruit bat or something like that.
Oh yeah.
He's like, I know how vampires work. They turn into bats. Do you know what fruit bats eat? Apple.
Well, this was Chris Sarandon's whole idea. He was like, okay, well, I did some research on bats, and most bats are fruit bats or eat fruit. And so I like to believe that at one point, one of the bats fucked a fruit bat. And so he's part fruit bat. So that's literally why he's eating the apples the whole time. I thought that he was doing it to look human. Be like, I'm just a man eating an apple, but he craves it.
I think it's both because he's like, look at me, I'm eating human food, I'm just a normal guy. But like, it didn't have to be an apple, you know what I mean? If he was just trying to be human, obviously he would have picked something like a hot dog. So
walking down the stairs,
eating
a glizzy.
That's American. Yes. If he's trying to fly under the radar and be a normal guy, it's gotta be a hot dog.
Hot dog.
He's waltzing down that staircase when Peter Vincent comes over and he's just like and slurps down the glizzy. No, but okay, the reason I know he actually likes him is because there's one point at the very end of the movie, not very end, but towards the not okay, apples, not hot dogs. There's no hot dog in the movie. There's a sloppy Joe, but there's no hot dog. I mean, maybe I need to rewatch with a closer eye. Hopefully, there is a hot dog. If this is
there better be a hot dog.
If an American film.
This was a made in America film, yeah,
during the Reagan era, no less. Anyway, at the end of the film, like after Charlie's been like locked in with Amy, Jerry's down with his familiar, whose name escapes me, and they're like working on some sort of project. And he is eating an apple then. There's no one around, just him and his familiar, and he's eating an apple again. So he just really likes them. He can eat, unlike other vampires, he can eat human food. Because that's another thing I really liked about this movie. They're really faithful to the rules of vampire lore, like a la Bram Stoker's Dracula. Because Bram Stoker's had all the crazy shit, like the wolf and the bat and all of that. And a lot of
Thrall.
Movies, yes, the Thrall. A lot of movies like don't do the wolf thing because it gets confusing with werewolves and stuff. And I get that, but aren't we so glad they did the wolf thing in this? That's a big part of the movie. But yeah, I love every single thing in this movie, but especially the first confrontation with Charlie and Jerry, the vampire. In his room, because I was not expecting him to turn into such a nasty looking motherfucker. That's like when you first start to realize that, like, oh yeah, they're doing practical fucking effects in this movie. Because when he's confronted with the crucifix, he turns fuggo as hell. Some would say. I think that's the clinical term.
Yes, I think that is the correct medical term. Fuggo as hell.
Yes. The red eyes I really liked. Big forehead turn a little purple. Everybody's face kind of like gets wider. Like very enticing, very exciting. And Another really exciting fact that I learned from just watching the trailer for that documentary. So just imagine what's inside of the actual film. One of the guys who worked on the special effects team, because like this movie had a $9.5 million budget. 1 million of it was for the special effects, and it really fucking shows. But they had this huge budget, right? So he was saying like, oh, we had all this money, all this creativity, we could just play. And then he was like, and we had a lot of cocaine.
I think that's important for the budget. Yeah, that's important. That's a good line item to have in there because long nights filming. You want the energy on screen, you know.
I don't think that's not what I meant. I mean, like they weren't spending the money on cocaine. They were all coked out of their minds doing the special effects. I think that's what he was saying.
That was one shot.
That's what I gleaned from
I think that's
watching
also important. Yeah.
That's in the budget, actually, Monica.
Well, yes. Okay, sure. How about that? That was part of it, but it was also a big part of the creative process, and that's why it turned out so whacked to shit. So good. So
Sometimes
good.
you have to suffer for your art, okay?
They were suffering for sure.
They were
definitely.
suffering.
They weren't having an absolute blast in the way that most people were in 1985. Not that at all. But yeah, I love when they also finally turn to Peter Vincent. I keep almost saying Vincent Price.
I know.
Because it's one of those classic, like, you meet your idols and they fucking suck. Because he is a little wimpy boy. Poor Peter Vincent. He's not there for anything except for the money, honey. He's fallen on hard times.
He's a poser, actually.
Yeah, I mean, even that white hair isn't real. They had all this money for special effects, but they gave him like the worst white hairspray that anyone's ever seen. But I just love like the whole character arc for his character throughout the movie because he's such a piece of shit at the beginning, and he really does turn it around in a beautiful way, in a very beautiful way.
He's got to believe to make those crucifix work, you know?
Yes. Oh my God.
I have so many questions about that, but I don't know that we're prepared to get into that moment quite yet. That feels like maybe, yeah. But it was interesting to see Charlie trying to recruit help because there's like the moment with the policeman earlier, obviously, and there's that crazy moment with the policeman where he says that one line so weird where he's like, "What are you doing in there?" or whatever. What are you talking about? He says, and he says it in like the strangest way. So maybe he also had some of the cocaine that the prop people had on hand. And then all of his other lines normal. And then he like Charlie goes to see Peter Vincent instead, and he's just like waiting outside of the studio, which yeah, I guess like what else are you gonna do? Although Amy somehow has his home address later in the movie, but in that moment, you know, we're not jumping straight to stalking you to your home, just stalking you at your job where you are advertising yourself as a vampire killer. So like it feels fair. It feels fair enough. But yeah, that initial exchange of like, you believe in vampires, right? Of course I do. To like, okay, great, because I have a vampire and I'm gonna kill him. To be like, actually, that was a little joke. That was just doing a little prank a moment ago. That's not real. Don't kill people.
I think it did a good job of making you believe that Charlie is a kid, though, you know? Because like, why would you, if you're really thinking about it, believe that he's actually a vampire hunter? Like, obviously that all that shit is fake. It looks so fake, you know? But he's a kid and he's desperate and he's gone through the normal
he tried the police
people, that you're supposed to. He told
his mommy, but his mommy just made him hot cocoa.
Yeah, she did not believe.
She's got a lot going on. She's starting the night shift, okay?
She's busy.
She's booked and busy.
She's a single mom. Yeah.
I love her little sleep mask, though.
She's so cute. But I love the vampire test. I think it's so funny. And I hate that everyone's like, okay, our friend is having a mental break. And we need you to help us calm him down by proving that this guy isn't a vampire. But I love how Jerry the vampire Because when I just say Jerry, I feel like I'm talking about anyone, so I have to say Jerry the vampire.
Jerry the
I love
vampire.
when he's like, "Oh, I am a born again Christian, and so it would be disrespectful to my religion if you brought a crucifix into the house." Same with the real holy water. This is very disrespectful to my religious beliefs. Wow, he's brilliant.
Please respect my religion.
Really preying on the pitfalls of society to be like, America does not respect vampires, but do you know what it does respect? Christianity. And so even this
Again, it's the
washed up
Reagan era.
Hollywood actor, yeah, he's going to support my beliefs because that's also in the Constitution. And then we're just going to do like a little pranky again because, you know, Peter Vincent is so like, it's exactly what you were saying. Like, Charlie is a kid. He seems like a kid. And so Peter Vincent, in the beginning, he's like, he's not lying maliciously on purpose or whatever. He's like, let me be this character for you.
Yeah.
And then when the child is like, okay, the character kills people, so I need you to kill someone, he's like, all right, pause. But then when he hears that like shit is getting real and like this kid is maybe actually gonna get involved, he's like, all right, okay. So if the character's the only person that he'll listen to, like, yeah, fine, I'll be the character again. Like, breaking character didn't get through to him. I'll be the character. One more time, run it back.
Okay, I love that, but it's not the case. He only did it because he got that $500 bond. That's the only reason that he did it. That is the only reason he did it.
Okay, sure. But
he doesn't get his like becoming a good person thing until later on in the movie. But he does get it. He does have a good soul in there. But he is being a sleaze for sleaze for she's is what I was gonna say. I'm going with it. He was being a sleaze for she's at the beginning of this movie for sure. He was like, I'm desperate. I'm about to get evicted from my house and I have no job. So I will take your 500. I will take $500 from a desperate child. That's what was happening.
And like bonds are such a weird way to get money. They have to like mature or something like that. So you can't just like immediately cash. I have so much bonds from my grandma and I don't know how any of that shit works.
I have no idea. I can't help you there. I really have no idea.
I don't
either. But yeah, I just think that the whole vampire test scene was so fun because I love that in this movie we get that weird vampire trope where like it's the woman that he loved in the past and she's back again and they look the exact same, but they're not the same person, but they kind of are because Amy definitely has this like magnetic attraction to Jerry as well. It's so
Jerry
weird
the vampire.
Jerry the vampire.
They picked a normal every guy name. This is another part of his Americana lore.
Yes. He's just the guy next door.
He's just Jerry.
That's just Jer.
That's just Jerry
Danbridge. Jerry Danbridge.
You know Jerry from Bridge Club. See him at the market. He played golf with Fred just the other day.
We're in the Rotary Club together. But yeah, like that meeting is so sexually charged. Whew. Oh, and it's wrong. But she's 27, so looking at it now,
it's wrong, but it's
what
so right.
It's so wrong.
Okay. Apparently, Chris Sarandon came up with that little plot aspect, which is so interesting because he wanted his guy Jerry to not just be like classic spooky evil guy. He wanted to give him a little bit more dimension, and so it's so interesting.
Want to be horny too.
Yeah.
Depth.
I wonder. That's my question. Also, is like, okay, if this was Chris Sarandon's idea, like, at what point did he come up with the idea? Was it like he already was gonna seduce Amy to get to Charlie, and then they were like, let's actually make it less weird. We'll just also put a portrait in there that looks like her. Or like, were they doing a classic Dracula reference on purpose once they like introduced the idea? Like, I'm not sure.
Well, yeah,
what the deal is there.
I mean, there's so much of that in vampire history.
Yeah.
So
I wonder. We talked a little bit about that before. I think on the Bram Stoker's Dracula episode.
Yeah.
Of like, is it just doppelganger theory? Like every now and then someone will come along, but also maybe is it truly the reincarnation of their long lost love? And like he's got the thrall thing, so it could be just like the thrall because we kind of see him do that with other people a little bit also. But at the same time, like, I don't know, maybe reincarnation is real. Maybe
like a
he's just
little
out
bit
there
of
finding
that.
a doppelganger and being like, it's you for sure. You're so different this time around, though. Your personality is like almost completely changed. But I recognize you, and so it's you to me. I know you're in there, even though actually you're so silly, goofy this time. You used to be really serious. That's crazy. But
What
now you
happened to you
love
this
little
time?
jokes. Yeah, like you used to be really into arts and sciences, and now you're a STEM girly. And I love that you love to change and progress each go around. Like
We
he
love
just
women in
decides it's
STEM.
reincarnation, even if it's not. He's
Yeah,
coming in with an agenda.
I don't know. It could also just be him being horny, but also I feel like if you were reincarnated, yeah, you'd have that like in the back of your head. I'm thinking about all the times I've read about babies that are apparently reincarnated and they say like
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I died in the war. Okay. So maybe you have your flashbulb memories, but like you're also a full person in this life. We're just going
Yeah.
with reincarnation being real right now.
My
And so
psychic
like
told me that this is my first reincarnation as a
Oh,
woman. And I was like, honestly, yeah, that tracks. That
okay.
tracks
I
for
would love to
me.
go to your psychic because
Absolutely.
I feel that vibe for myself as
Sophia,
well. I
Sophia
feel like
girl,
it
love
definitely
her.
was not a girly before this. Um, but yeah, like I don't know. I think that like in your current life, you're living that right now. So like
Yeah.
that would be those memories and that lived experience that you're currently living would be at the forefront. So it'd be hard to like unlock that. But then you also might have this like feral gut instinct where you gotta fuck Jerry. You know what I
And
mean?
you
Because
Look,
you
don't
want
know
Jerry is
why.
a
Jerry.
handsome man. He's a good-looking guy.
And we
He's
know
played a
he gets
prince
an earring.
before. And
We know.
again, this is a different movie that comes out 15 years later. But when Mr. Sheffield plays the vampire in Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire, that's giving the same thing. And so also that adds to the appeal for me,
Yeah,
at least.
I love that
totally.
movie. I watched that movie recently, actually.
Is it as similar to this movie as I remember, or is it completely different?
It's very close, but like for
Okay.
kids.
With the dad from Lizzie
This
McGuire playing
movie,
the like Peter
Van
Vincent
Helsing.
character.
oh,
He's Van
also
Helsing.
Oh man, so much going on there.
just before I forget, things that are similar, blah blah blah. This is so totally filmed on the Universal backlot, right? Like that's the Desperate
Oh, there I
Housewives and the Burbs
yeah.
neighborhood, right?
Yeah,
Where they're filming.
something
Yeah.
about the Burbs I for sure saw in the trivia.
It's the same one as the Burbs, and I'm like, that's the psycho house at the end of the street.
There it is.
Interesting,
Maybe that's off, but I've been on that Universal Studios Hollywood tour so many times. I was like, oh, my neighborhood. I live there.
Oh yes,
Oh,
my
Desperate
street right here.
Housewives.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, after that, I love the mirror reveal too. They do so many cool things with the mirror, no reflection stuff in this movie. When like Peter Vincent first realizes like, oh fuck, I'm way far over my head using his little prop
His little compact.
that he loves so much and sees that, oh yeah, fuck, that actually is a vampire. That's
Truly,
just such
I
a good
hate
scene.
this.
And he literally just runs away. Like he's such a little scaredy bitch. He's like, I'm gonna leave these children to get fucked, like in front of the house. I don't care. I'm outie. I'm outie
Really
2000.
not my
See you never
business.
again. Yeah, I got my $500 bond. I'm out.
What
See what
did
I
you say?
mean?
He sleaze to the
Chelsea.
sheaths or something like that.
He's
What
a
did you say
sleaze for
before?
she's,
He's a sleaze for
as they say
cheese.
in the
Yeah.
industry. Yes. But yeah, I mean, this next part is definitely. I keep saying this is my favorite part, but I do love the walk home because I
Mm-hmm.
was very compelled by little Stephen Jeffries' performance in the alleyway because he's such a little shit boy. I love him so much, Evil Ed, but like that prank that he pulls on Charlie and Amy is so rude. One, even if there isn't a vampire on the loose, that is, don't go down the spooky alley. Like, just don't do it. Don't do it. We're all walking home together. Let's be safe together. No? Okay, where's the solidarity? I guess it was a different time and 80s kids were running around all the time, but they were also getting killed all the time. And so I
They
wish
were.
you had thought of that. Yeah. But I love his prank. Like him being like, I'm gonna bite you and give you a hickey. Or whatever the fuck he says. So good. But that scene where he like immediately afterwards where he's walking down and you get Jerry the vampire in his sexy cloak and his sexy red scarf, that's the iconic outfit that everyone was obsessed with apparently. And it's like, again, so sensual. That's the thing that I love so much about vampires. They are no matter who they're talking to, it's horny. Like no matter what is going on, they're flirting with everyone. They're enthralling you or whatever the fuck it's called. But that scene is so sad when he gets Evil Ed in the alleyway and he's like, join me and no one will ever think you're weird again. Because, he's obviously a little freak boy.
Yeah.
We all know that.
We love a good little
He-
freak
for
boy,
that.
though.
Here's the thing about him being a little freak boy. The beginning with Charlie and Amy making out, him trying to mac on her shutting it down. He's like, you always shut me down or whatever. And then she like tries to fuck him. That felt so Scream coded to me. And then
Yes.
the introduction of the little freak boy friend who's like saying out of pocket shit about the murders that are happening. I was like, okay, I guess I can see
Okay, Billy
how like
Stu.
right. I was like, so this is maybe some of the Scream inspiration, and like if these were the
Definitely.
movies that were coming out where this was just like normal freak boy bestie friend shit, I can see how people could watch Scream and at first just be like, yeah, Stu is just classic freak boy bestie friend material. Like
Well-
there's nothing to be suspicious about necessarily.
Well, that's actually, it's interesting you said that. I read this great article on like Den of Geeks or something about this movie. And that's part of the reason that this movie did so well. One, because it was a return to form to the supernatural shit, because that wasn't really as popular in the 80s. Things had gone like full frontal into the serial killer slasher shit.
Oh, it's the
Like it was
later 80s
Halloween,
that go.
Friday the 13th. Okay, Nightmare on Elm Street is a
Its
little
own thing,
bit.
yeah.
It's supernatural, but it's also still a slasher. You know what I mean?
Well,
And,
and
we
we
had
do get
an
that
American
little-
Werewolf in London, so there was some of that, but it wasn't nearly as popular. What were you
And
gonna say?
we-
Sorry.
I was going to say we get that little quip from what's his name? It's not Vincent Price.
Peter Vincent.
Yeah. Where he's like, nobody cares about vampires anymore.
Oh,
All they want to do is
yeah.
see
Yeah.
little virgins get stabbed.
Demented
Exactly.
masterminds and ski
Yes.
masks.
Stab
So
virgins.
Exactly. That's like exactly what it had been like for the first 5 years of the 80s. And this movie did so well because it brought back the old school stuff, but it also combined it with the contemporary teen thriller that was also like doing really well at the time. So it had like these 80s teenagers who like the kids could like relate to and understand. And it says this, it predates Scream. It's just they said that this was definitely like a movie that was like self-aware in the way that Scream was too. Because that's the other really fun part about it. Scream is so fun because like they know about horror movies. They
Mhm.
know about all the cliches. Well, this is the same thing. Charlie and Evil Ed know everything about vampires because they've watched this show like for forever. So they're in on all the cliches and they can make all these winking nods, winking jokes to the vampire lore throughout. So it's funny you said that. There's
Also-
so much of that DNA.
There's also just a moment where Billy Cole, his live-in carpenter boyfriend, is just
Yes.
like, he's on Billy Cole or Billy Cole is on him or whatever. They're all cuddled up, Billy and Stu style, in just like
Yes.
one little moment. Yeah.
That was that's literally exactly that. But yeah, I don't know. I was so sad. The Evil Ed's whole thing is actually very sad. Like haha, LOL. I laughed so hard the whole time. It's so sad. His whole story is so sad because he gets got. He's immediately maimed in the face with the cross. So he looks like shit. He doesn't even look like a cool hot vamp for very long. He just immediately is melted. I loved that too. I also love he's got the jacked teeth. We talked about that, where it's his second 2 teeth, right in the front. And when he goes into full vamp mode, his teeth all like spread out from each other. So he's got like 15 gap
Yes.
teeth. Really loved that artistic choice too.
Yeah, he has this like little, it's like a little rat mouth, the way that the teeth are
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh, a cute little rat
Scary.
boy.
Yes.
Scary. I also
Oh.
didn't know his name was Edward until that scene. And I was like, Evil's real name is Edward? So the fact that I either didn't catch on or they didn't even say it until then is, he's going through a lot. Because he did say earlier in the movie, don't call me Evil anymore.
I know. I remember that, and I was like, "Well, what are we supposed to call you?"
Is that not your name?
Really
Yeah.
I really don't know.
What's your name then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but now we can finally talk about the dance club scene.
The way that he puts his hand on her thigh.
Oh,
I was
like,
she doesn't even do second base, and he hikes that skirt up to get his hand on her thigh.
yeah, that's why there's some sort of, it's either the thrall or the past relationship from reincarnation, because she's just like, it's on like Donkey Kong. I'm here with you tonight at the club. Let's go. And also,
Yeah.
We're gonna make love
notice
in this club. Like, let's go.
the stuff that happens to her hair throughout this movie is so fucking funny. But the second she gets on the dance floor with him, her hair's redone. It's not the like down bangs thing. It's like
it
a
looks
full like
different.
big fluffy curly full 80s vibe going on. And I'm like, the effect he has on her, she looks like a sex pot immediately.
Immediately
You can
sexy.
tell that she's under his vampire thrall because when he was outside just chasing them, he had his coat and scarf on, and then when he came inside, he took them off and he dressed down, and they're both still over here in blazers. That shows they have their humanity. But then when he pulls her onto the dance floor, her blazer mysteriously gone, her hair puffy. So that's how you can tell that things have turned romantic between
Oh
them.
my god.
Ah, good to know. Good to know.
That's it. The blazer is a sign of humanity.
I've
Wow.
always said that about a blazer. Yeah,
That's why you bought that blazer in Alabama.
exactly. I was like, I need people to see me as a human woman.
But I love the dance. I loved it. I was into it. I was really into it. I was like, it's so wrong, but it's so right. And the mirror work again when they're looking at where she's looking into the mirror and she's like, oh, my dance partner doesn't exist. And it takes her out of it for a second, but she's also wrapped right back in every time she turns around.
And then she comes back and she's like, "Oh, JK, hot. Hello."
Also, I just want to say, pour one out for Dion and also his friend, which I don't know what his friend's name was.
Oh,
poor
the
Dion.
bouncers?
Yeah. Because the one
Sad.
bouncer who dies first is like, Dion! And then Dion comes down and then he gets used as a bowling,
Oh my
bowling
god.
ball.
That's so
Gets
sad.
used
They
as a
really were
bowling
out there
ball.
doing their jobs because they
They
saw
were.
a grown adult ass man trying to take home a 15-year-old girl and they were like, no.
Let's not.
That's not happening here. I don't know how this 15-year-old girl got in here, but she's not leaving with this man.
I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, they put their lives on the line. And I really thought that when Jerry went full vampire in the club, it was not a wise move. Especially
No, I
considering
agree.
the subtlety he'd been trying to bring the rest of the film. But, it worked out for him. It paid off. I didn't think he'd be able to escape with Amy, but he sure did. So,
Well, that's another thing that makes me think like, oh, there's something definitely going on with him for her too. Obviously, we know that he recognizes her and he's into her because of that. But like he like loses his cool because he's trying to get her. You know what I mean? So I thought that was rather telling. But then it was kind of confusing because later on in the movie he's like, "You can fucking kill her. I don't care." And so I was like, "Well, I guess that's over." I guess that was just a flash in the pan kind of romance thing. Classic men. Ugh.
maybe it was one of those moments where it was like he bit into her neck. They had their psychic vampire blood brain osmosis link, which I imagine is something that happens, although they didn't really lay it out explicitly in this film. But then he realized, oh, this one actually is not a reincarnation. This is just a girl who looks similar. So he moved
Just
on.
a girl.
Yeah, like
She just has poopy hair.
she just has poopy hair. Yeah, that scene where she wakes up on the furry blanket. On the furry blanket.
In front of the
I want to wake up on a
fireplace,
furry blanket.
in the
fire,
gown.
in a brand new gown that fits her perfectly. If I woke up in a beautiful gown that someone had tailored to me that makes her boobs look that good, I would also make out with him. But you know, it didn't end great. Also, the soft back image with the blood going down the back, they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing with this movie. It was beautiful work. It was beautiful work. They're like, we don't even need to do the tit shot here. We doing the sensual back shot. We're giving you diversity.
We got
in
a
the
tit
sexy
shot earlier in
scenes.
the movie. We're diversifying.
Every part of
Sometimes,
a woman is beautiful.
sometimes you want the unexpected sexy, a little back, a little collarbone.
Ooh, décolletage.
Oh, collarbones are so sexy to me on women. Just like, yeah.
You
Just
like
like
that
men
mine's
and-
broken and has a
Yeah.
big piece of metal on it?
Brunhilde. Yeah, of course I love Brunhilde.
That's the name of my scar, in case the listeners have forgotten.
But it's just like calves on men, collarbones on women. Like those are where I'm looking.
Yeah, the lesser known erogenous zones.
Yeah.
But poor Charlie. Poor Charlie. He's having a rough go. He should have cherished her more.
Cherished
Honestly.
her more, because like in
Mhm.
the beginning he's being a not nice boyfriend, and then we're at the club, which by the way I'm pretty sure the bouncer or somebody at some point says it's just called the club, which is a funny little banger of a name. It takes him so long to realize that she is no longer by his side and that she is out on the dance floor dancing, touching butts, having her thighs touched. That moment she commands the scene and like takes power back and like is in charge for a second there with Jerry. He spends so long like literally just not paying attention to anything in the corner. If he was attuned to his girlfriend and her needs, none of this would have ever happened. He would have been fucking
needs
her
to
in the
zone
beginning
in.
instead of looking out the window. And Jerry
the
and
fuck
everybody
in.
kind of just carried on. These poor women who are being called to Jerry's house, they unfortunately, nobody would have gotten justice for them. But other than that, Evil Ed would have been fine.
You know? It's very sad. It's a tragic film, honestly. It's a tragic film.
It is a tragic film. That said, Evil Ed wearing the Raggedy Ann ass red wig and being genuinely mistaken for somebody's mommy in that moment is crazy.
Well, we know that Peter Vincent isn't that smart, so
That's true.
I love how, like, okay, so Peter Vincent and Charlie, they meet up. They decided to actually fight the vampires, and they're gonna do it. Okay, good. Because this is where he starts being a good guy, Peter Vincent, because he is so moved that that little boy who came to ask him for help has been actually turned into a vampire. The guilt's coming in, and it's his fault because he didn't do anything. It's not his fault, but he's not.
He's entangled now.
He's entangled. This is a classic entanglement. But I love that, like, he gets scared and he runs to Charlie's mommy. Like, that's what happens. I'll go get Charlie's mommy. And I just want to really quickly also note that Jerry the Vampire is such a cheese ball. He like comes down and he's like, "Welcome to Fright Night."
Yeah.
For real.
That was also incredible line delivery. Yeah, the accent he used in the beginning where he's doing the character voice. It's a slay.
It's so good.
It's so slay.
It's serving cunt. I'm just saying.
Yeah, he's got it all. He really has got it all going on, Jerry. Not okay. He almost had it all. He didn't have the earring yet, again, but he gets it later in life.
He would have been too powerful if he had the earring in the 80s.
Sure.
We all would have died.
But that's the moment where the cross thing comes back around too, where like, okay, here's my thing. He says, Jerry, our guy Jerry, says to Peter Vincent, you have to have faith for this to work on me, Mr. Vincent. But like, whose faith does he mean? Because if he's saying Mr. Vincent doesn't have faith, then why did it work on Evil Ed earlier? So like, it's not about Mr. Vincent's faith. Is it about his faith? Because like, it does work when Charlie does it to him. So whose faith?
It's about his faith in himself and his
Whoa.
belief in himself. He didn't believe that he could do it because he psyched himself out for so long. I think in the heat of the moment, maybe when Evil Ed comes at him, he's just like, and has to like believe it because it's happening. But like he psyched himself out so much that he's a fraud and blah, blah, blah.
In this scene with Jerry is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and he doesn't believe in himself. That's what I like to believe, because let's take the religion out of it.
Yeah.
Yay.
But I think that also does make more sense because like if you're really getting into the faith thing and like whose faith it is and whose faith it is about, like it does work sometimes when Mr. Vincent does it. It does work sometimes when it's used against Jerry. It's just not necessarily consistent. But if you come up with stuff like that, faith in yourself, it's like, yeah, sometimes that waxes and wanes, okay? Sometimes I'm more confident than others. Sometimes I'm having a flop day.
Yeah, and you
Never, not me. I'm always delusional at all
Sydney's
times.
always on her game. Never a flop moment for Sydney. I've always said that about her.
Yeah,
it
Sydney,
like
it's called live in Delulu land.
There you go.
I also
okay,
live
great.
in Delulu land, but sometimes the Delulu is mean and sometimes the Delulu is nice.
Nope. Sometimes you just have to, no matter what, even when I'm like, wow, I'm horrible. And I'm like, no, I'm not. The other people are bad. It's not me.
Actually, everybody else is horrible.
Yeah, that's what. Like earlier when I was like, Google conspired against me to think that Chris Sarandon and Susan Sarandon were brothers.
They did. They misled you. That's
terrible.
That's fake.
I was being gaslit by the internet. It's not my fault.
Gaslit by People Magazine
on Google.
People Magazine
the liberals
online
paid for that to be high up in the results.
Exactly.
Okay. It's time. The best part of the whole movie. The best part of the whole movie is Peter Vincent's showdown with Evil Ed.
It's the best part.
It is the greatest part of the film.
My God.
It is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. I couldn't believe it. Because one, we get a wolf. We get a real wolf. Because, vampires can turn into wolves. They can. They canonically can. There's a whole big thing about it in Bram Stoker's Dracula. And so he turns into a beautiful wolf. He's so gorgeous in his wolf form. But
he's still got red Evil Ed eyes.
Of course. And I love that slow motion run down the hallway scene. Gorgeous. Great animal actor. But yeah, then he gets staked with the leg or whatever the fuck. And it just
table leg
is one of the most gruesome displays of practical effects I've ever seen. Like, we all know the greatest practical effects of all time is Rick Baker's in American Werewolf in London, the transformation scene there. This is second best for me.
Yeah.
This is
the de-transformation.
When you see him turn into goo and re-solidify.
He was goo. He also whatever they did with the wolf when the wolf is like still fully a wolf.
Around.
He's like flopping around and his little arms
like
are
moving.
Oh,
how'd they do that?
Oh my God, that was the goo. I couldn't believe the goo.
I love goo.
Foot, stretchy the foot. He has a boy's long chest.
His little face.
Nasty little face. And it's so emotional. Like, I'm so busy laughing.
Peter
but it's
Vincent
so
is
emotional.
going through a face journey in the background. My God, the depths of the emotion that he is feeling, the different places he's going in that moment, the silent tears he is weeping.
And he reaches out. The wolf, Evil Ed, as Wolf Boy, reaches out. And they almost touch hands. And Peter Vincent's like, what am I doing? He's going to kill me. Oh, my God. Also, this was the moment during that face journey because we get a lot of close-up on Peter Vincent's face. And that's when I realized he looks a lot like George W. Bush.
Oh, my
and it
God.
kind of took me out of it for a second. It's just because, we recorded this really early. Sorry, just so you know, we recorded this a month in advance. So it was 9/11 just 3 days ago. So I've seen a lot of pictures of George W. Bush this week. And so it's fresh in my mind. There's something there. They look a lot alike, especially with the sprayed on gray hair. So that almost took me out of the emotionality of the moment for a second because I was like, this is George W.
George
Bush
W.
fighting.
Yeah. This is such a patriotic film. That's crazy.
I know.
What's going on?
I know.
It's a 4th of July movie.
Before its time. But it's and then, oh my God, it's terrible. And then it gets worse when he is more of a boy and he's got that bubbly eye, half wolf face. Disgusting. This is where you know a man on cocaine made this. This is how you know. It's so.
This is the only reason you'll know.
you need this performance enhancing drug. The performance enhancing drug for the special effects industry is cocaine, apparently. And it really shows here. Sometimes doping comes out with great things, and it's this scene. It's like, how long is it? Too. It's like,
I don't know. Probably several minutes. Probably at least
It's
5.
really long.
It goes
It's really
on
long.
forever.
I loved it. I was like, let me. I'm feeling this in every way I possibly could.
That's why it's like so face journey though, is because like obviously they're not just gonna sit here on the transformation the whole time, so they have to
They
cut
can't.
around to somewhere, but they don't want to break the moment, so they just keep cutting back to Peter Vincent's face looking like abjectly horrified and like sort of fascinated, and like he was fine when he was killing a monster, but now he's reconciling with the fact that he's killed a boy.
A boy.
And he knows that boy.
He was just a boy.
That boy came to him for help.
Help.
He was
And
just a boy.
he
Yeah,
failed
when
him, and
he-
it's led to this. It's
When
sad.
he fades
It's
away
honestly
to full
sad.
boy, just with a piece of wood impaled through his chest on the ground. It's rough.
It's so rough.
The cross,
And-
the way it just like fades away on his
Yeah.
forehead to be like, he's just a little boy.
He's just a little boy. He hasn't even eaten anyone yet. And it's sad too because like we find out later, like if he had just survived until dawn and they had killed Jerry the vampire, he could have turned back into Evil Ed. But alas, 'twas not meant.
Wow.
'Twas not meant. It was all the same night.
Mm-hmm. I
What?
don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but there's that last moment before the credits roll.
Oh, yeah.
So who knows?
I wonder if he's in the
Something
sequel.
could be
I don't think he
happening.
is.
I have literally know nothing about the sequel. The fact
don't
that
think
there
he's in
was
it.
a sequel, I think, came as a little bit of a surprise to me whichever one of you said it earlier. But it
Mhm.
definitely
And there-
felt like
he's not
that
in the sequel.
moment. Well, then he's off living his life somewhere else because I heard him. I heard his voice. That was him.
I heard his voice too. Maybe they couldn't get him back. They couldn't get him
Maybe
back because
he
he was
was,
too
like,
busy filming.
It's Sydney and Scream style. Doesn't she deserve her happy ending? That's why she's not here.
God, so fucked up. They wouldn't pay him enough for the sequel.
Mhm.
But it
They
was
didn't-
like a flop. The sequel was a flop, so maybe it's better. He's probably making more money elsewhere. But yeah,
The
that's greatest thing
transition
I've ever
though
seen.
is so crazy because it's that really heart-wrenching scene of him turning back into a boy, gooing, degooing, etc. All these crazy effects.
Gooing,
and then
degooing. Hated
I
that.
know. And then they cut back to Amy though, and she's sweaty and shaking, and you're just like, is her hair growing right now? Is her hair
I-
changing right now? Is that the practical effect for this scene?
I love it when you become a vampire and you get long, luscious, curly 80s hair. That's
Twilight
something that I
vibes.
look forward to.
Vampire makeover.
Well, okay. Alice had short hair, so why do you have to have long hair when you become
You
a
don't
vampire?
have
I
to
guess
have
it's the
long
80s.
hair, but yeah, I
It
don't
happens.
know why she transformed to look that way, although there was like a painting in Jerry's house that had long hair that was like abstract enough that I was like, I don't think that's supposed to be another version of Amy, but I guess if you told me it was, I would believe you. And there's just like various different like Amy's throughout history around the house, maybe, I don't know, that all look like a little different because they're all their own version. But she did look so much like the vampire from the movie in the beginning once her hair was long and she was in that like white gown. So maybe Jerry's just a really big fan of that movie.
The whole rest of this movie is so chaotic. It's like really hard to parse. But like Amy's a vampire and
She's
Charlie
maybe gonna
has
get
to-
staked. She's maybe not gonna get staked.
yeah, and then Peter comes back and he's like, "Oh, let me break down the door, blah 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 blah." And then then we get the Renfield moment. What's his name again? I literally never
Billy
think of him.
Cole.
Billy Cole. Billy Cole's part was also cool because I love that, I mean, familiars are imbued with a bit of their master's power.
He's out
Power.
here eating bugs. Yeah.
He's out there eating bugs. But I love that he gets shot point blank in the head. So it does take him a second to come back from that. That's a hard one. But like the little zombie vibes, that was a spooky scene. I really liked it. And again, we get a new type of goo.
Wow.
Mhm.
We
Two
love
goos.
goo.
Two
Yeah.
goos. One movie. Amazing.
I thought that was so important, though, that scene, because I had put in my notes when they were talking about it earlier, Charlie and Peter Vincent, where he was like, he goes out in the daylight, doesn't he? He's got to be human. And I was like, this is very short-sighted and close-minded for a world where we now know that vampires are real. Like, you think that's the only thing out there? That is just, you're not thinking, you're not using your head. So
You're
when
not
they
using your
flipped
head.
that, and they were like, yeah, there is funky shit going on with him. He is made of goo solidified into a person, and he cannot be killed if you're not really careful. I was like, okay, good.
Actually.
Phew, finally.
He's a gooey zombie
Someone
boy.
around here is making sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That, yeah. I loved it.
But he was very lime green goo.
He was very lime green goo. Oh, and then another amazing part. I don't know exactly when it happens because things get a little twisted for me here because there's just a lot of action. There's a lot of vampire action going on. But our man Jerry the vampire becomes a bat.
And it's
that bat
a bat.
is from Ghostbusters. They made that puppet for Ghostbusters, but it was like too freaky for Ghostbusters or something. Whatever they were going to use it
children
for.
will be scared.
It got cut because they wanted the movie to be PG or whatever. And so they repurposed that bat to be Jerry the Vampire the Bat. And boy, is he beautiful. Look at that.
He's
gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
We go batty for
Stunning.
Jerry the Vampire Bat.
Oh my god, we go batty
Batty.
for him.
And like honestly, the special effects like carry the whole end of this movie. Like just watching what Amy turns into, like her
monster
smile
mouth, yeah.
widening and widening into this cat like face. Oh, I loved it. Still hot. Honestly, still hot.
I'd still hit it.
I'd still hit it for sure. To
Would
be clear,
still hit.
Yeah,
But I would
apparently
be
this
scared.
is one of the like little bits of IMDb trivia I read. And so I'm just assuming this is the same moment because I'm not sure what other moment it would be. But director Tom Holland asked visual effects man Randall William Cook if they could make like a shark mouth for one of the vampires, which I'm assuming is this. And they didn't really have like the time or budget left to do a good job per se. But he was like, okay, I can make you something if it's only in here for like a second. Like, just don't put it in the movie too much and we can make something that we can get away with. And Tom Holland was like, yeah, sure. And then they made it on screen for so much of this ending shot, actually. And then it was in the promotional images as well. So they just, they loved that shark mouth, as it turned out. They said, you know what, this shark mouth is going to be essential to the film.
Oh,
Baby shark. Doo, 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 doo.
That's a mama shark right there. That's not baby shark.
I got so confused because I like looked at the pictures for this movie on IMDb, and there's like a picture of a woman, and she has like the same hair that Amy has at the end, pretty much. And I was like, oh, who's that? Is that Amy? And I'm like, that's not Amy. And then it's Cassandra Peterson, who is Elvira. So I don't understand why that's happening, but she's in the gallery.
Must be the lady in the beginning, maybe, in the vampire movie that Charlie is watching. Remember I said they looked really similar?
Yes! No way! Oh, I love that. I didn't remember you said that. Yeah, I'll look on the cast real quick, but that's so cool that we have a little Elvira cameo potentially. I don't see her on here though. Club goer.
Maybe she just dressed up for the premiere.
Who's the cross-dressing vampire? Tina Benes. Who's the cross-dressing vampire? When do we have that? I don't remember that. This is a deleted scene?
Oh, I see what you're looking at.
There's so much to be gleaned. Who knows? Okay, well, that could have been Elvira. I'll rewatch the beginning and I'll let you know if it's her. But yeah, the ending of this movie is epic. It's drawn out. You gotta get him from all sides. I mean, I loved that scene where he crashes through the rose window. Jerry. It's beautiful. We love to see a dramatic stained glass smash. But also we love a monologue that leads into dawn breaking in the background. Classic, very beautiful.
I was a little confused by the clocks all going off. Like, I guess he had those all set for sunrise, is like what I can surmise based on the fact that the sun burst through the window literally 1 second later. But I feel like when it was like cutting around to them, they all looked like they were set for midnight. And so I was like, what's happening? Well, what's
6
going on?
a.m. The time of dawn, of course. I have no idea.
The time of dawn. Yeah, who knows? Whatever.
The
Small
time
details.
of dawn.
For me, though, if I was a vampire and I was sleeping in my basement, I would have boarded up the windows, not just painted them black.
Yeah.
What if a child in the neighborhood kicks a soccer ball and it breaks the window? You ever think about that? That could
It's
happen at
so
any time.
common.
That's very common. People break each other's windows all the time. So I hear. It hasn't happened to me, but I've seen it in flicks.
Feels like it happens all the time in media.
Yeah, so it seems like not a very foolproof plan. I'll say maybe, they did just move in. It's been like 4 days since they moved in.
That's true.
So maybe that was
Billy
part of the
Cole
plan.
has a lot of carpenting work to get around to. That's just not the top of his to-do list.
Not the top. But he has to get got, this is a comedy, a horror comedy, so it has to have a relatively happy ending. And again, I love the way that he blows up and melts and has a very weird skull that doesn't really make sense. That scene was just so crazy. So crazy. It's so beautiful.
Blasted back by the ray of sunlight coming through, and then he like bursts into green fire and dissolves, and his bones are all exposed. I loved that.
And he's like,
I loved it earlier too with Billy Cole when he was like turning into dust. Also, he wasn't just goo; he was also sand.
He's everyone in this movie is so multifaceted.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, that was part of the article I read too. They're like, they actually did pretty good character development in this movie. So that's like another reason why people actually really like it. Because like a lot of the slashers don't have that. Sorry, it's true. There's no time. You're too busy being stabbed. But yeah, it's a beautiful movie. I'm glad that Peter Vincent didn't die. He's in the sequel, and so is Charlie. So
important to know.
Very important.
Evil Ed said if he wanted to preserve his life, he knew he had to stay away from the two people who knew what he was or had been, I guess. Because maybe now he's normal. If Amy's normal.
Yeah, I don't know, because they also had an alternative ending that they didn't do.
And that's why we hear his disembodied voice at the end. And that's why we don't see him in the sequel. He's invisible.
And luckily, as we know, ghosts fuck, so he's gonna have a great time.
That's why he went on to have the career that he did.
Exactly.
Wow,
but anyway,
all makes so much sense.
That very end. That very end part where we have Amy and Charlie finally getting to make out in peace. And Peter Vincent got his show back. And he diversified his portfolio. Now he's doing alien flicks. He's fun.
Doing Alien Month of his own Alien Month.
Wow.
We're such trendsetters.
What a little copycat.
I love it for him. But the original ending that they decided not to go with was a little twist ending where they're watching and making out, and then it's Vincent Price, and he's like, oh, not Vincent Price. Wow, I finally did it. It's Peter Vincent. And he's like, well, you know what a vampire transformation looks like. It looks a little something like this, and then he becomes a vampire on this, like on TV, and he's like actually had been turned. And
that would have been fun.
That would have been fun. But then,
and then he hypnotizes everybody through the TV.
He thralls them all, and everyone gets horny across
I would have loved
United States of America. The end.
That's his presidential campaign.
We were finally united in our horniness.
I would have voted for him.
That's what's gonna have to do it. That's what's gonna bring us all together one day. Anyway, how could this movie be gay?
Well, there's a lot of gay stuff going on. There is a quote from director Tom Holland, I think. Yeah, he said, quote, "You could say Evil Ed is the gay kid who was bullied, but I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking he's a kid who reads all of these easy comic books. But when asked about the implied gay relationship between Jerry and Billy Cole, he said, the stuff with Chris Sarandon and Jonathan Stark, that's me." So he's like, you could read Evil Ed as gay for sure. And especially with the Billy and Stu of it all, I think there's room for that. But also the real Billy and Stu of it all is Jerry and Billy, and that's why they get their cuddly little moment. And he was like, yeah, I did that on purpose. The gay subtext with the little kids, that's up for the viewer interpretation, but the gay stuff with the adults, I put
that's
that
my
there.
little sprinkle
I put that there.
Also, he was high-key devastated when Billy died. Jerry was devastated. He was wrecked.
Because they're in
Got
love.
so angry.
That's
yeah,
his
exactly.
boyfriend.
That's his man's. So pour one out. It's very sad. It's very sad. But yeah, there's so much queer shit on and off the screen in this movie.
Well,
Canonically
vampires gay.
Yes.
Vampires gay.
Vampires gay.
Yes. That's why I relate to vampires so much. Also, like, I really related to Amy in this movie because, like, sometimes when you're around a bunch of vampires, you're just like, holy shit. That's how I felt at the vampire ball last year. I was like, everything has changed for me. I'm biting everyone. I went crazy. I felt free.
I was sitting there and I was like, huh, I want to wear the teeth again. Should I be another vampire every year for Halloween from now on until the day that I die?
I know where mine are. I'm ready to do it again at any time. It was honestly, I'm not kidding. It was life affirming.
I had the best time. I'm like, am I just going to dress up in like a cute little outfit and just put fangs on and be like, vampire?
Why don't we wait our next photo shoot? We should be vampires again. Just
vampires again.
Oh my God, but we should be
I have
Lost
an idea.
Boy vampires.
Down. All right, November. We got time.
Does anybody have train tracks we can dangle from?
There's train tracks.
That you can dangle from?
That you can dangle from.
You could just
I don't think we should
Photoshop.
I think we should do it.
I think we should dangle from train tracks,
No.
actually.
Can any of you guys do a pull-up? I don't think so. Love you so much. Sydney can. Chelsea
have
cannot.
done
I
pull-ups in the
cannot.
past.
I can hold
How
myself
long
up.
ago was
Thank
it?
you.
When I was in the 4th grade, when we had the presidential fitness challenge, I did more than anyone else.
Sydney can spin all around and go upside down. So we don't talk to her. We don't talk about her because it's it's unnatural what she can do. But Chelsea and I are normal girls and we can't go upside down.
I think I still have it in me in an emergency vampire need to be cool situation.
I tried it at the gym the other day and I was like, ow. And then I fell down. So yeah, I can't even stay upright while doing line dancing.
Bar, I'd show you right now, but I don't have one, so I can't show you. But if I had one, I'd be able to show you.
That's so unfortunate that you can't do a pull-up right now. Rats. Anyway, Matthew Lillard, where would he fit into this movie?
Well, I mean, if we're saying that Stu and Evil Ed have lots in common, I think that is like an obvious choice. That said, I'd like to see him as Billy Cole doing some carpentry.
You would be great at that.
Like to see him hammering some nails, picking up a paintbrush, doing some blue-collar labor.
If they had made this remake in like 2004, 2006 instead of 2011, I would have loved for him to be Jerry.
Yeah.
He would have been so sexy as Jerry the vampire.
But give him an earring.
Yeah.
Sorry. Now I'm really into the earring thing. I think earrings work for pirates and vampires, and we should have more vampires with earrings.
Yeah. All vampires must have earrings. Rule number 1.
This is the hill I die on. Yeah, I really would like that. I like both of those for him. He's got so much range. He could play anyone. If this came out in the 90s, he could have been Evil Ed. He would have been a great, kooky, spooky Evil Ed.
I also think, though, he has what it takes to be Peter Vincent one day. In like a traveling into the future scenario, I think he would really kill the Peter Vincent role.
I think he could do it now.
He
Peter
could do
Vincent
it
doesn't
now,
have to be
for
that
sure.
old.
Well, one thing that guy said that he liked about the role as Peter Vincent, which I did not pick up on for myself in the movie, is that we see the character at like so many different stages of his life. So like some of the Peter Vincent films we're seeing are like him in his 30s, and then like the character as we see him on screen interacting with the other characters is like in his 60s. And so like that's why this spray painted white hair, so that like he could play younger and older at the same time. But I think, yeah, you could have like a washed up in their 40s, in their 50s Peter Vincent for now, for sure, with like Matty Lily having like his younger days as the movie star, or even just like this small guy, this small screen star. And now he's got his own cable TV show, but he's getting fired, he's getting evicted, he's down on his luck, he's got to team up with teenagers. I would love to see him in that role.
Yeah. I agree. Any of those would be good for me. Okay, are we ready for dumb bitch? Who is the dumb bitch? It's hard.
I guess Charlie for not being a good boyfriend, because again, that would have really circumvented all of the events in the film as we see them.
Yeah. But also
But then a vampire would still be
Evil
out there.
Ed. But also Evil Ed, because
Yeah.
he goes down
He
the
really
Because-
boy cried wolfed it. Like,
really...
Here's the thing. Charlie boy cried wolf too, but he really thought he saw a wolf, at least, and he was right, as it turns out. We saw it in the end. Evil Ed did not think he saw a wolf. He just was doing a little prank on purpose, like the boy in the story.
He was doing a little psychological torture on his
that is
friends,
dumb bitch behavior.
as you do. Yeah, because Jerry is really good at being a sexy vampire, so it can't be him. Maybe
No,
he's
Jerry
a dumb bitch
Perfect.
for Jerry Perfect, for underestimating the chitlin. But I think that it has to be Evil Ed. But I love him. He gets the best boy award. How about that?
Here's the thing.
Okay.
Evil Ed
Also
is a
gets the
dumb
bitch award.
for wanting to get rid of his nickname Evil, because
Yeah,
a
that
cool
slaps.
nickname.
That's a good nickname. Have you considered the alternatives? Now your name is gonna be Ed.
right?
Come on.
Yeah, he could have been Eddie. I don't know.
That's
I
fine,
love
I
him.
guess, but it's no
Okay,
evil.
it's time for knives out of fives. Chelsea, what did people think? I've heard they loved it.
Yeah, well, I mean, Sydney said it earlier. This was the highest grossing horror movie of that summer, and it was the second highest grossing horror movie of that year. So it did perform well when it came out, and it's still pretty highly regarded by people. It has a 7.0 out of 10 on IMDb, and then on Rotten Tomatoes, it has 82% fresh from critics and 76% fresh from audiences. So overall, sentiment is like pretty positive.
I'm torn. No, I'm not torn. I'm gonna go with my heart and
Okay.
not what the laws of society say. I'm gonna go to 5 out of 5. I was gonna knock it down to a 4.9 because of the whole like ancient man 15-year-old thing. But we're just gonna move past it. And I love this movie.
They're
so much.
vampires. There's
They're
always going to be an
vampires.
age gap.
He's
You know,
literally
she's
a
a
demon.
reincarnation and he can't die, so things
He's
are going to
an
be a little
evil
unbalanced
demon
sometimes.
guy, so he's not
Yeah.
going to do moral shit. He's not bound by the laws of society because he's dead. So he, you know what I mean. He was never going to do good things. This isn't that kind of movie. It's not Twilight. So this is a 5 out of 5 for me. It just has everything that I want, and every time I watch it, I notice something else. It's just so funny. I love the layers to it. I love they bring in this Vincent Price character, like Vincent Price-esque. I said it on purpose that time. And I don't know. I love it. All the performances are great. It's low key moving if you think about it too long. Chris Sarandon, hot. That's it. 5 out of 5.
I'm gonna give this a 4.5 out of 5. Something about it doesn't hit the 5, but it is so what I was like looking for when you like. It's like one of the reasons why I love 80s movies. Like when you're giving
Yes.
examples of like really fun, really good 80s movies, this is one of them. And again, Evil's death is a top 5 like cinematic masterpiece moment for me.
Truly art, high art, literally
High
high
art.
art. They were on cocaine.
Literally high art.
Yep.
Yeah, I think for the this is not my overall rating, but for the practical effects, I definitely have to give all of the transformations and weird vampire shit 5 knives, because they were clearly having fun. They were clearly being creative. They were clearly thinking out of the box and using whatever substances they needed to help them do that. They were delivering on the unhinged nature of what any supernatural premise should have. And that I love. In terms of the movie as a whole, I'm a little like, maybe it's my energy that's lower today. I don't know. But I didn't necessarily like connect with the film in that way. Like, I was entertained. I loved parts of it. At no point was I bored, but at no point was I like cheering along either necessarily. So I would give it like a solid 4 knives overall, because I don't really have complaints, but I also just didn't really get into it in the same way. So we'll see. I'd be curious to check out the sequel. I'd be curious to check out the 2011 Colin Farrell remake.
Change anything for you.
I know I do really like Colin
never
Farrell
know.
though, so I feel like the remake might hit.
The remake I heard wasn't that good, but I also think there's going to be things we'll really like about it, because
I think there might be things I really like in there. Yeah.
So we'll see. That's fine. I'm not mad at you that much. No, I'm kidding.
Oh.
Good core. I'm kidding.
Mom is like, we're gonna fight after this. It's on.
No,
Okay.
it's
See you down the
okay.
street.
Yeah, I live really close to you. I could walk there and fuck you up for not giving it a 5 out of 5. No. But yeah, I'm so glad we did this movie. We were having a really hard time deciding on what we put for this week, and we found it, lads. We did it.
But next week.
Sydney.
So next week is the greatest day. Next week, exactly on Tuesday, kicks off the greatest holiday known to man. And that is,
I've heard this is true,
Sydney Palooza. That goes
Sydney
from
Palooza.
my birthday on the 24th all the way to Halloween. Exactly
Sydney
1 week
Palooza.
of fun, fucked up festivity. And what other way to celebrate that with a special guest?
Ooh, special guest.
And maybe one of my favorite horror movies ever, which I recently watched when we were doing our 70s and 80s horror draft with Raiders of the Lost Pod. And that is my number 1 overall draft pick, which was Suspiria, 1977. Yes. And we're having Vanna.
So Vanna is a friend of the pod. She's so cool. Vanna Taylor. Their name on Instagram is Siren Death Cult, and you should follow her because she's amazing. Horror blogger, writer, podcaster. She also has a master's degree in smart shit.
And she's a dancer.
And she is a dancer, so she's perfectly ready for this. And she's also a co-host on 2 podcasts, the Tale of Two Sisters pod and the Carnal Extremities podcast, which are 2 bangerangs. They're new pods, but they're great. And so yeah, she's a dancer. She knows all about this shit,
which is going to be great.
Cool girl extraordinaire. So very excited to have Vanna on the pod.
It's going to be so fun. We're going to be like, oh my God, saying all this stuff. And she's going to be like, yes, these dancers are doing this incredible thing. We're going to be like, oh my God. They move so prettily.
Oh, pas de bourrée. She's going to come in and she's going to be like, as a dancer, this is how this made me feel, blah, blah, blah. And we have to take her.
And I'm going to be like,
whoa,
I'm not a dancer, so that's cool to hear. Yeah, that's how
as a podcaster.
Yeah.
She's also a podcaster. She's got us on all of them.
She's honestly a triple threat.
She's really a triple threat. She really is. So yeah, that's gonna be the kickoff of Sydney Palooza.
Sydney Palooza.
But reminder before we go into my regular spiel, we have a poll question. And the poll question is, who is the hottest couple of the 80s? Chris Sarandon and Susan Sarandon, or Jeff Goldblum. And did I say his last name right? Whoa, that was
You
weird.
didn't
I had
Just
an
said it
uncanny-
weird.
It's because I forgot his last name while I was saying it. I didn't believe in myself. Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis.
The cross
Who
wouldn't have worked
wins?
in that moment.
Wow.
Who would? I know, exactly. I didn't believe in myself. I don't know
Faith.
what I thought
The
I was going to
faith.
say. I think, yeah, I don't know what I was going to say. But I love them both. Who will win in the fight to the death for hottest couple
I know
of the
who I'm
80s?
voting for.
I had to think about it.
It's this going to be a tough one for me.
But it's definitely, I have more heart with Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis. They make me feel things more deeply inside of my soul. The Fly makes me feel more things. So anyway, so that's the poll. Weigh in and also follow us on social media. We're at spooky_Tuesday on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Letterboxd. We changed our letterbox. So now it's all the same. Spooky_Tuesday. I know this will be hard. Change is hard, but it's actually easier because you only have one thing to remember. Actually, no, it's still two. If you want to follow us on Facebook and Tumblr, it's at Spooky Tuesday Pod. And thank you for listening. See you next Tuesday for Sydney Palooza.
Bye, spookies.
Jesus, I warned him!
Oh, he got me, Charlie. He bit me. You know what you're gonna have to do now, don't you? Kill me. Kill me, Charlie. Before I turn into a vampire and give you a hickey.
You asshole!
Spooky Tuesday was created by Monica Haidt, Sydney Thompson, and Chelsea Duff, and edited by Sydney Thompson. Our gorgeously spooky tunes are all thanks to Tamara Simons, who you can follow on Instagram at Captain Tamara, and our podcast art is by Mary Murphy, who you can find on Instagram at the_moon_OMG.